Today we'll discuss about the fundamentals in the cavity preparation. We'll see few terminologies before proceeding into it. What is a cavity? It refers to the defect in the tooth enamel or in both enamel and dentin due to the caries process. So what do we do for that? We just make the cavity preparation for that. So what is it? It is a mechanical alteration of the defective, injured or diseased tooth, that is, in order to receive the best restorative material which will re-establish the healthy state for the tooth, including the aesthetic corrections with the normal form and the function of the tooth. Now we'll see other terminologies such as what is simple cavity is. This refers to the preparation that involves only one surface of the tooth, that is the occlusal cavity. Next is the compound cavity. This refers to the cavity preparation that involves two surfaces of the tooth, that is the mesial as well as occlusal cavity preparation. Next is the complex cavity preparation. This refers to the cavity preparation that involves the three or more surfaces of the tooth, the mesial, occlusal, distal cavity preparations. Now we'll see what are the walls of the cavity preparation is. Any surface of the prepared cavity is referred to as a wall. So we have various walls such as the internal as well as the external walls. The external walls include the distal wall, facial, lingual as well as the gingival wall of the cavity. Whereas the internal walls includes the axial as well as the pulpal wall. The axial wall is the internal wall that is parallel to the long axis of the tooth, whereas the pulpal wall is the internal wall which is perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. This wall is occlusal to the dental pulp. Next, what is the floor? The floor or the seat is termed to as a prepared wall that is relatively flat and perpendicular to the occlusal forces which is directed along the long axis of the tooth, that is the pulpal as well as the gingival walls of the prepared cavity. Now we'll see other two walls in the prepared wall, such as the portion of the prepared external wall which is composed of enamel is the enamel wall. If it controls the dentin, then it is the dentinal wall. Now we'll see what are the angles in the cavity preparation is. The term angle refers to the junction of two or more surfaces of the cavity preparation. So there are many angles in the prepared cavity such as the line as well as the point angle. The line angle is the junction of two walls in the prepared cavity along the definitive line, that is a mesofacial, mesolingual, distofacial and distolingual in a class 1 cavity. Now we'll see point angle. It is the junction of the three walls in the cavity preparation at a point. That includes the mesofaciopulpal, mesolinguopulpal, distofaciopulpal and the distolinguopulpal in a class 1 cavity. Next would be cavo surface angle. This refers to the angle of the tooth structure formed by the junction of a prepared wall and the external tooth. The actual junction of the prepared wall and the external tooth surface is called cavo surface margin. Now we'll see about the cavity preparation objectives. That includes the removal of all the defects, at the same time preserving the vitality of the pulp while preparing the cavity. And it should also make the margins conservatively, limiting the extensions of the cavity. It should also allow the aesthetics as well as the functional placement of the restorative material. Now we'll see the stages in the cavity preparation. The first stage is called the initial cavity preparation stage. In the initial cavity preparation stage, first step is the outline form and the initial depth. The outline form is the placement of the preparation margins in the position that they will occupy in the final preparation. That it should remove all the friable or the weakened enamel, including all the falls, and placing the margins in the cavity preparation such that the good finishing of the margins of the restoration is possible. Now we'll see the initial depth. We should restrict the depth of the preparation into the dentin to a maximum of 0.2 to 0.8 mm in the dentin, and it should be 0.2 mm beyond the DEJ or 1.5 mm from the central pit in the enamel. Now we'll see what is enameloplasty is. It is if suppose the caries involves the pit or groove is only the most superficial part of the enamel. It has to be eliminated without deliberately extending the cavity. So this procedure of reshaping the enamel with the rotary instruments is called enameloplasty. Now we'll see primary resistance form. It is the shape of the cavity that best enables the restoration as well as the tooth to withstand the forces without fracturing it. It includes the box-shaped cavity with the flat floors and including all the weakened tooth structure with the rounded internal line angles with the preservation of the cusps and the marginal ridges. It should have adequate thickness of the restorative material with the reduction of cusps for cusp capping. Next is a primary retention form. It is a shape or the form of the preparation that resists the displacement or removal of the restoration from tipping or lifting forces. That includes the occlusal dovetail that prevents the tipping of the restoration by occlusal forces. Next is the occlusal conversions of the preparation walls. In a class 1 preparation, the facial and the lingual walls should converge occlusally that enhances retention as well as the resistance form of the cavity. Next, we'll discuss about the convenience form of the preparation. That should provide the cavity for adequate observation, accessibility, and ease of operation by including the adequate width and lateral extensions for tooth preparations as well as the restorative materials. And it should be able to provide the proximal clearance from the adjacent tooth that enhances the convenience form during the class 2 preparations.